Epcot Center. Excuse me for being ignorant here, but is that I thought that was where the rides are, and that is Disneyland, and that is all the fun that comes
So
along with that.
Walt Disney World has 4 parks, right? So there's the Magic Kingdom, Epcot, Hollywood Studios, and Animal Kingdom. The Epcot Center is probably the most unique theme park in the world, where you have kind of like the first part's Future World, and the back part is like a World's Fair. So each country, they've got like 12 different countries that all have their own different pavilions, and you could go in there and some of them have rides, some of them just shows, a lot of shopping, a lot of food. So if you want to eat in Morocco, you can do that. Go over to Italy, go over to France, have them, do all that stuff. So that's what we like to do. We like to go around and just eat, just do all that.
Gotcha. I can see why that may not be as fun for kids, especially if you see rides. Like, can we just go over there?
No rides. Now, come, let's go food. But we just ate. Shut up.
Now I see why you go all the time. I'm always thinking, God, Disney World sounds awful.
Oh, look, wine.
Not so bad now. Cool. So today we have the 3 of us. Brent is out in New York, somewhere in Jersey, New York, teaching a training class, and Eric is working with a client. Doug is still working on those videos, which I think he's taken another 4 or 5 weeks before that video is out. So we're getting like sneak peeks of it in our company chat. It's pretty interesting. It's gonna be pretty funny.
That's really incredible. That's incredible.
Has he given you guys a sneak peek of what's created yet, outside of the pictures he shares in IM? No.
I have no idea.
Cool.
It's going to be amazing, though. I've got my $300 ready to go just to see his end product.
$299.
Oh, that's right.
$299. All right. Let's hop in there. So if you have SQL questions today, it's going to be... Oh, actually, you're Brent Ozar today, Angie. It is going to be Angie in the hot seat.
I'm not Brent or Angie.
Sarah!
Wow.
I don't know. I just went with the instructions on how to start the meeting.
You're doing better than Eric, though. Eric typically has a harder time than you, so I don't know if that's...
I had a hard time, too. It barely got started, 5 minutes before you joined.
Cool. Well, let's hop in there. Let's see. There was a question from Robert Cole. He says, we have primarily SQL 2012 with some 2008 servers. It's been recommended that we skip 2014 and go straight to 2016. Is that valid advice?
It is valid advice if 2016 were available. It's not currently available. It depends on when you want to upgrade your systems. You do not need to, go directly to the next version. SQL Server allows you to upgrade with backup and restore 2 versions ahead, and you can even attach databases from 2005 all the way up to 2014, for instance, and it'll upgrade those databases. But yeah, I don't see any reason to skip. Maybe you've got some licensing concerns, though, so you need to take a look at if your licenses allow you to, which version of SQL Server you're allowed to use. If you've paid for software assurance, you get to upgrade those licenses to the newer versions.
Is it ever bad to be the first adapter to like a new SQL version? Like, is it ever smart to be like, I'm going to wait for the first service pack or second service pack?
So that used to be the stance that everyone took, but Microsoft is rarely going to be having service packs with new versions. They're moving away from service packs. So if you're waiting for service pack 1, you could be waiting a very long time. They are going to be releasing hot fixes instead. And I know in the past people didn't want to implement hot fixes because they didn't get the same level of testing. But if you're waiting for a service pack, that just may not happen. As far as running production on a new version, they do have the early adopters program where there are large corporations with mission critical databases that do run the newer versions before the software is even released to the wild. Like 2005, I believe, this is going back years and years ago, but back when MySpace was a big thing, I believe that they were one of the early adopters, and so they actually ran production on it, and they found bugs, critical bugs that Microsoft had to fix in order for them to keep production running smoothly for them.
Ah, gotcha. Oh, the wonderful days of MySpace. Let's see. James asks, how can I improve a proc performance without touching the code? Do you guys have a good blog post?
I know that Brent has training on this, performance tuning when you can't fix the queries. I haven't attended that class, but I imagine what he's looking at is the index tuning, taking a look at the statistics, the set statistics, I/O, and time, checking where your bottleneck is, which table it is, performance tuning with indexes. I don't know what all else he goes into in there. I suspect, hardware and things like that. But as far as a specific query that you're unable to change, indexes are where you're going to want to take a look at.
Mm-hmm. That's a video that Brent has, or is that a class, in-person class? I've seen that. The title is actually Performance Tuning When You Cannot.
I think it's maybe a SQL Saturday class or a pre-conference, gotcha. Possibly. I'm not positive on that. It's not a week-long class, I don't believe.
Learnfrom.brentozar.com. You can check that out there. Speaking of the training videos, we do have a question in regards to Doug's video that's coming out. If you purchase the Everything Bundle, is that a video going to be made available to those that are part of the Everything Bundle? Yes, as long as your 18-month kind of license extends to that particular point when the video is dropped. I'm hoping it'll be out in the next 3 months, but you just never know with these kind of things.
So performance tuning when you can't fix the queries will be, Brent will be doing that in Houston on May 13th. So right now it's $200, and you could see that on learnfrombrentozar.com. That's all there. I thought that looked familiar. I'm like, am I going to be hanging around that? I think I'm going to be there. I'm not quite sure.
That's right.
Are you guys going?
He is.
Yeah, I'll be there. I'm speaking at SQL Saturday Houston. I just so happen to be in an AWS training at the same time as the Houston thing, and I'm like, I double booked myself in 2 different cities again.
Oh boy.
So I got to fix that. Yes, I will be in Houston.
Okay, cool. Let's see. Question from Justin. He says, to drop a lot of connections from a database, is it better to run a script to drop them all, or reattach the database, and why?
You should never reattach a database just to drop connections. So back in the old days, what we would do is we would have a looping script that would check, for instance, sys processes or SB-who, and then we would go and kill the SPIDs as we get to them. But then, with applications, they are reconnecting fast, so that wasn't a good way. I forget what version Microsoft added this feature, but it might be 2000 or 2005, where you can alter the database and set it to, whatever option you select to set it to get those users out. It gets harder if those users have DB owner privilege. Then it becomes difficult to get them out. You may have to disable their login, but you can do an alter database command to quickly get everyone out of the database and even roll back their commands as part of your alter database command.
Mm-hmm. Okay, cool. Let's see. Let's go on to a question from Garrett. I'm a little afraid of this one because I'm thinking the answer is going to be it depends. But let's tackle it. Garrett says, I need to copy data from an OLTP server to a data warehouse for an ETL process. Which technology should be used? Replication, CDC, or other? When should one tech be used over the other? He's on SQL Server 2008 R2.
So I know replication is often used for this, as well as SSIS packages. Replication would be, you would use that if you need the data in the data warehouse to be more real-time. So you'd be constantly moving over the DML operations. All inserts, updates, and deletes are just constantly flowing into the data warehouse. If you are okay with any kind of lag in the, when the data is received, SSIS, hourly, daily. You can even use replication snapshots for that as well, so that it's less frequently. But it just depends on how often you need this data to be pushed over, and a lot of times that answer is near real time. You can't really have it real time in a data warehouse, but near real time with replication works. You will have some latency. larger latency at times when large transactions run because it's not flowing as quickly through. It has to go into from the publisher to the distributor to the subscriber, and that takes time. If there's a large transactions such as index rebuilds, you could have significant latency. So you want to make sure that those larger transactions run when the latency doesn't matter as much to the business.
Yeah, definitely SSIS would seem to be more along the lines of what you want, as opposed to, oh, let me just go ahead and move the database over and do a drop retouch or replication. That just doesn't sound fun. SSIS is designed to move data from one place to another. That's exactly what it's supposed to do. And most of the time, you'll need to do some transformations on top of it as well, especially if you're going into a data warehouse. So SSIS is designed to do exactly that, what you're thinking of doing, moving from OLTP over to SQL Server or to a data warehouse. So if you're worried about latency, need to do real time, SQL Server may not be the correct technology here. There's other technologies. What's the streaming technology in SQL Server again? Stream Insight. That may be more if you're going to do more real time stuff. Or even there's some other stuff in the cloud in Azure and AWS that does real-time things. SQL Server really isn't designed to do that kind of stuff. Stream Insight that works with SQL Server is designed to do that type of stuff. If you're doing a real-time type processing of things, I'm assuming that you're not doing that type of real-time processing because you are using a data warehouse, and most of the time data warehouses have a lag associated with them. I'm not looking at today's reports. I'm looking at yesterday's reports.
All right. So Brian this is a new one. He's looking for recommendations to prove to a non-technical manager that new indexes are helping performance.
Yeah, so new indexes. Okay, yeah. So I mean, do you have baseline information about those queries? So you've added some new indexes. I would check. So you can look at the DMVs to see if those indexes are being used. SQL Server is constantly recording that information, but you need to know what it was beforehand to be able to prove to management. But I would be surprised that management would be upset that new indexes were added. I mean, you're adding indexes to improve performance. Has performance degraded? If performance has degraded, back out those changes and retest.
Cool.
Or you just back out the changes now and say, hey, let's see what happens.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, you can view the execution plans, but of the queries that you were targeting for these new indexes, but you really need to know what they look like beforehand. So you see this great execution plan, but was it a scan before, and now it's a index seek?
Yep.
Can you use any queries though? Like, because doesn't all those stats stay in the DMVs that collect statistics over time?
Yeah, I mean it's collecting data, so you can find out if those indexes are being used, but you really need to have information before the changes were made to be able to say it has improved things. Just because SQL Server is now using the new indexes doesn't mean it's improved things.
Makes sense. So like a monitoring tool would be helpful.
Monitoring would definitely be helpful for this. If you are recording SB who is active to a table, you could check into this stuff. If you're collecting the execution plans, you can go back in time and look at what they were beforehand and look at it now and do a comparison.
Cool. Let's move on to a question from Deborah. She says, we have SQL 2014 with a vendor install database with 264 gigabytes of memory. The vendor has set the minimum memory to 100 gigabytes. The max memory is 245 gigabytes. Should the minimum be that high? The minimum's at 100. This server only has the database installed on it, SSIS, reporting server, etc. are on a different server.
I don't have any problem with this. A few jobs ago, our installation scripts, when we were setting up a new server, the way that those scripts were written to set up the minimum and maximum settings in SQL Server, it would do a calculation to figure out what the max memory value should be set to, and then it would divide that value by 2 and set that value to the minimum memory. So I don't have any issues with this, but I don't know if there's any risk associated with that. It's going to take some time for SQL Server to allocate that amount of 100 gigabytes, but it's going to hit it eventually.
Yeah, I mean, are you feeling any pain points with that, is really the question. I mean, you're seeing high usage of memory and that kind of thing. And if you are, then maybe it's something we want to take a look at. But if you're not, if you're not seeing very high usage of memory or anything like that, then sounds fine.
Speaking of pain points, there's I would say the number 1 or number 2 reason people reach out to us is deadlocks.
Yeah.
Deadlocks. I see that a lot. Have you ever seen those before?
Yes. Run.
Yeah. Michael has a question on that. He says, I'm still getting deadlocks after setting read committed snapshot on. Why would that be?
So read committed snapshot, or better known as RCSI, it's an isolation level that readers don't block writers and writers don't block readers. So are the deadlocks between reads and writes? If that's the case, I would take a look further into whether or not the transaction is able to use RCSI. So RCSI is compatible with read committed. So if you have the database set to read committed, it is compatible. Now, if you have no lock hint in there, it's not going to be able to use RCSI for that connection or for that transaction. But why would that be? We would need to take a look at the deadlock graphs to know more information. Run a trace to get the deadlock graphs, have the deadlock information be sent to the error log with the appropriate trace flag. Mm-hmm. We would need more information to be able to answer this.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Let's see. Do you guys have an experience working with Veeam? Use any of their products in the past?
I have not. I know a lot of clients are using it.
Mm-hmm.
What is who's the question from?
Question's from Doug. He says, do you got any tips for working with Veeam and being able to do point-in-time restores when backup log chain gets broken?
Eric or Brent would better be able to answer that question.
Mm-hmm. Cool.
So take it away, Eric or Brent.
Yes. Oh, sorry.
Today.
I changed my name.
Typically when our consultants do critical cares, well, male consultants, people are like, oh, thanks, Brent. Hey, Brent. I remember even Jeremiah was like, people are calling me Brent and Jeremiah's on the screen. But I'm like, I wonder if that's going to happen to Angie and Tara.
It has already. I've been called Angie.
Idiots. That's my fault.
I've been answering to Tara or Tara all my life. Either one works. I pronounce it Tara. Angie's fine too. That's how you want to pronounce T-A-R-A.
All right. Let's see here. Let's move on to a question from Derek. Let's try to tackle this one. I set up TDE on my SQL Server 2014 Enterprise, but when I backed up my database certificate, it wrote the file, but throws an error that it can't access the directory. Is there a known issue with certificate backup?
I'm not familiar with this. I mean, I'm familiar with TDE, but I'm not familiar with getting an error when backing it up.
Yeah. What's TDE?
Yeah. It's the encryption.
Transparent data encryption.
Yeah, I was like, what is the T and the D? The E is encryption. So it's a way to encrypt your data. It does slow your system down, but it's important for sensitive data. And unfortunately, you can't make use of backup compression. Even if backup compression is enabled, it's not able to compress that data when TDE is there.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I've never seen errors on TDE either, so can't really help you what's there. Sorry, Derek.
I would suggest posting a question on Stack Overflow. I'm sure someone can help you out there.
Yeah.
Stack Exchange and Stack Overflow, those are two different things.
Oh. Right? Wherever it goes. Stack.
dba.stackexchange.com. dba.stackexchange.com.
There you go.
There you go. Let's see, question from Nate. He says, I have a database monitoring suite, SolarWinds DPA, and it shows a very sawtooth-like pattern on the metric page life expectancy. Do you guys have any idea what could be causing this?
So page life expectancy is the amount of time your data is in cache. And there are things that impact PLE, such as CheckDB can impact it. You're probably not running that very frequently during the day to have caused it. Index rebuilds can affect it, update statistics. can affect it. Even if you've got auto update statistics, if your data is changing rapidly, you might be getting statistics updated, and that could impact it. I would be suspicious of a memory issue, though. Maybe large transactions are pushing out older data out of the cache. So maybe you've got some really large transactions that need to be tuned. Maybe you've got some missing indexes. I would take a look at the the queries out there for the missing indexes report, and add any high value missing indexes that are there. Possibly add more memory, things like that. Query tuning.
Question from Greg. He says, having lots of tempdb log flushes on one server. 16 tempdb files, 16 cores, tempdb has 20 gigabytes reallocated, log case or space cause for concern. I think there's supposed to be a period there. tempdb has 20 gigabytes allocated. Is there cause for concern? Sounds like it.
Yeah, it sounds like I don't know how to answer that question.
Tempdb log flushes on one server. I don't know what a log flush is. Let's see here. What else do we got? We always go to monitoring tools. We always talk about our favorite monitoring tools. Do you guys have any input on that?
I've used a lot of monitoring tools over the years. A couple of jobs ago, we were trying to determine which monitoring tool to use, and SolarWinds was one of the ones that the systems team wanted to use, and so I took a look at it, and it just did not meet the needs that we had at the time. We were also running SQL 2005, and their product no longer supported it. I've used SQL Sentry's Performance Advisor, Event Manager, Dell's Quest, Spotlight, and the Performance, whatever the Performance, it's not Performance Advisor, Performance something or other. It's also known as Foglight. All the tools work great. They're all very similar. I would definitely recommend taking a look at the tools. They have definitely saved a lot of hours of troubleshooting by having the tools in place and being able to look back in time at what was causing issues, look at current activity, things like that. I mean, they're invaluable. They definitely can save your organization hours of troubleshooting, which can save your organization money. So these tools can be expensive. They are expensive, but in my opinion, they are worth it.
When we do a SQL Critical Care, do we take a look at any of the results or any of the monitoring tools or dig into that at all?
We do. So if a client does have the tools in place, we will take a look. We might have to fumble around to find what we need because we're not experts in the software packages, or maybe it's been 5 years since we've seen that specific software package, and obviously things change over the years anyway. So yeah. But yes, we definitely take a look at it, and maybe the client is able to show us, bring us to the right screen where they're seeing an issue, and we can dig into that data as well. Eric's working with a client right now, and he's digging into their monitoring software with them.
Yep. Yeah, I had a call. So we have for our SQL Critical Care, we have a requirement of at least 2 weeks of uptime. But due to the nature of our business, people call us when they're experiencing performance issues, and they typically reboot. And so the guy yesterday was like, "But I'm using a monitoring tool. Can they just look at that?" I'm like, I think we need those stats.
Yeah, I mean, if we had our critical cares a little different, yeah, we could, but that's not how we run our critical cares. We have a process that works very well for us to be able to get down to a problem quickly.
Makes sense. All right, question from Serge. He says, we started having random stack dumps on some of our SQL 2008 R2 instances recently. We installed the most recent SP and patches, but that did not help. They spoke with Microsoft on the situation, and they suggested upgrading to SQL 2014, of course, but we cannot do it on those servers in the near future. Have you guys ever seen these issues with SQL 2008? R2?
I've seen stack dumps over many years, over all the versions. It's a bug in the SQL Server engine. Microsoft is telling you it's a bug, and they said that it's a known issue, and they're not going to fix it. Unfortunately, there's nothing that we can do to help with that. We would tell our clients to work with Microsoft on stack dumps. Is it causing you any pain? Or, obviously the stack dump is going to be written, information is going to be written to the error log, files are going to be written to the file system with the memory dump. are the stack dumps causing an issue? Usually customers don't even know about stack dumps, because they aren't monitoring their error log. But some stack dumps, unfortunately, can cause SQL Server to restart. It's unlikely you're having that issue, though, because if it was that big of a problem, Microsoft will fix that bug, probably.
Let's see, there's a follow-up question on the critical care stuff we were just talking about from Kevin Smith. He asks, so do you have a set of steps before a critical care to preserve stats before the CEO screams reboot before you can get engaged? Is there a set of steps that we would give somebody that wants to do critical care but cannot keep the server up?
We could, especially with Richie's new collector tool. So yeah, I mean, we could give them the tool, provide instructions how to run. It's really simple. I ran it for the first time yesterday. It was amazing. I mean, it worked really well. I hadn't ever done a triage before, and I was, a little concerned, running all these scripts and getting all the right data. And I'm also the performance specialist for this client. So I wanted to make sure I got everything. And so I ran Richie's tool. Worked great. Got everything I needed. So yeah, I mean, yeah. If this were the case, and in the future when we start, using the tool, start sending it to the client for them to use, yeah, it definitely could preserve the stats. The only issue is that when after the data is collected, the performance specialist analyzes that data, we do need access to the system to start digging more into it. And if you don't have a lot of stats in there, we might not have enough good info. But we might be looking at current activity as opposed to the stats that were already collected. So it might be okay, but it's definitely not an ideal situation.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the collector tool that Tara's talking about is not open source, right? So it's not available to the public. It's available for our clients. We do have some other tools that we do run as part of the collector that we do give freely, such as SP Blitz, SP Blitz Index, and SP Blitz Cache. So those are really the heart of what we collect and what we look at. So it's not just something we give out to everyone. It's something that we use day in and day out and that's why we see so many updates to SP Blitz and Blitz Cache and things like that, because we actively use them every day. So you may not have the collector that does it all for you, but you do have SP Blitz, SP Blitz Index, and SP Blitz Cache that will get all that data for you.
And we have those are available via our first responder kit as well if you wanted to download those. And we have about, 25 other scripts that we use strictly for consulting engagements, right? And is that is what's in the collector, or is that a fair assessment?
Yeah, and I think probably all of them have been blogged about at some point. And if we don't have a blog on it, these are just common scripts that are run. I mean, yeah, Brent Ozar Unlimited has our own flavor of this script, but there are other scripts out there that that can do the same stuff. Gotcha.
So if you do a critical care engagement with us, you do receive most of these scripts as a part of that engagement as well. So you guys, they teach you how to use them. They're different than the ones you get in the first responder kit, and then they'll tie a bow on it and give it to you post engagement too. Call me.
Yeah, my last gig, Brent was actually we engaged Brent Ozar Unlimited to do our triage and performance and do all that stuff, and I actually got a hold of those scripts, and I and Brent, and I said, these are amazing, these are great, so they are pretty cool when you see them all bundled up together, and you can just say, hey, here's the scripts, so I could get a full picture of a SQL Server and see exactly what's going on at that given time. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. And Rich has been working on the collector. The collector, what I'm imagining too, is kind of like hitting a button, and then it all collects in one jaunt, and you wait maybe 20 minutes, 10 minutes, and then everything's kind of
depending
organized.
on the size of the server. Yeah, I could get mine running on mine like in 2 or 3 minutes. But yeah, it essentially just runs a whole bunch of scripts and then saves the information so that we can use it in an easy-to-use manner so that we can do our performance tuning work, and as well as our HADR stuff, or whatever we need to do to fix your server and see what your pains are.
Cool. Yeah, Angie's out this week. Next week as well. She's getting married. We're happy for her. We're looking to having her back. But in the meantime, Eric and Tara are doing triage. So it went well yesterday, I hear.
I survived. It did go well. Yes. I'm delivering the findings, in 15 minutes to the client.
Oh boy. All right. We'll give you some time to look through those. So that's all the time we have for today. See you later, guys. We'll see you next week.